Hi paper crafters, come on along with me because we're going to make this super cute tag using some watercolor pencils, and I've got a fun technique with your embossing folders. Let's get started. So tags are fabulous to make for the holidays, and you can use a tag on a present or a little gift of some kind on a bag, or you can also turn it into a card by putting this onto a card. So I want to show you how to make this tag, and I'm going to show you the watercoloring here, and I'm also going to show you a neat technique with your embossing. We're going to use the designer tags. This is currently in the online exclusives, and this is November 2024, and I love anything that has tags, and this one has a good variety of tags. So it's got this nice big large one we're going to use today, and I'm going to show you all of the tags in some samples at the end, so make sure you stick around. And it's got some smaller ones that have some detail. This one here is really quite pretty, and then it's got a little one. So this doesn't have a stamp set that goes along with it, so we are just going to cut out the tag, which I've already done, using our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and this is Basic Beige. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the Painted Trees embossing folder, and we're going to put some trees on the bottom of this. But the first thing I want to do is I want to stamp. I don't want to stamp after because it could be bumpy if I get my embossing folder up high. So I'm going to stamp first. And the stamp set we're going to use is the Christmas Friends stamp set. And this is super adorable. If you like critters and Christmas, then these go perfectly together. And we're going to use the owl today, but it's also got some great sayings. And this saying, "I will be thinking of you this season," of course, coordinates with that. So we're just going to use some pecan pie ink, and I'm going to ink it up. And then I'm going to stamp right fairly close to the top because I do want to be able to show my trees down below. So I'm just going to try and get this as straight as possible here. And you always want to stamp, give it a good amount of time to set up, and then lift it off. Now what we want to do is we want to emboss, but we want to emboss two ways. We want to emboss and deboss. Now you can't do it at exactly the same time so that it's showing on the front. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to run this through this way, and I'm also then, after I emboss that, I'm going to run it through this way so that we are going to get a debossed and an embossed image at the same time. Now a trick to this is you want to try and get your tag all the way in, because if you run this through, what you could get is a line up here. And I want to show you what I mean by that. So here's an example of one, and I'm hoping that you can see where the plastic from the embossing folder, the edge of the embossing folder is making a line. And I didn't really like that. So what you want to do is run it through once, run it through the other way, and then what we're left with is a card or a tag that looks like this. So you have your deeply debossed tree here, and then you have two embossed ones. And so the embossed ones are always going to end up being a little bit not quite as high because it's been run through a second time, but it does give you a really cool effect. So we've got that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our little owl, which I have already stamped here, and we're going to color it. We're going to be using our watercolor pencils, and I've chosen 4 from the assortment 1, and there is a second assortment too. But you'll notice that there's 13 in this one and there are 10 in this one. So that's not all of our Stampin' Up! Colors. Now I have a cool class called Coloring Techniques for Paper Crafters that shows you exactly how you can make every color, and it's so cool. So this is a class called Coloring Techniques for Paper Crafters. You can get it online over on my site at designwithjo.ca. So the colors I've chosen, I have pumpkin pie, real red, early espresso, and pecan pie. So we're going to start by coloring, and you're going to just color lightly at first. We're going to start with our pecan pie, and we're going to color wherever we see some of those little feather marks. So everywhere sort of, and I'm coloring in a circle, you'll notice, and I'm coloring fairly quickly, and you don't have to be really worried too much. You want to stay within the lines, but you don't have to be really worried too much about how you're laying down that color aside from lightly, and you don't want to be coloring in strokes. So I'm going to color everywhere here. down his feet, and a little bit up top here and along the sides. So I'm just laying down pecan pie. I'm going to come in with some early espresso, and I'm going to layer that right over top. And as you go into more layers, you're going to get a little bit more intensity. And that's all there is to using your watercolor crayons. And they really are probably the most economical thing in the Stampin' Up! Catalog. And I cannot stress that they will take you miles and miles and miles. We're going to do some red up on the little Santa hat here. And you can do more intensity with the same color. So I am putting down all the color here, just fairly lightly. And when you do light and you dark, that allows you to get a little bit darker, shadowing. So I'm going a little bit heavier now, just where I see some of those lines. And Stampin' Up! Is so great because all of the lines are marked on there for us. Okay, so go a little bit darker in some areas. And then his beak is going to be our pumpkin pie, and I am going to do that. It's hard to do that one because it's such a small area, and I want that to be pretty intense. So I would probably go and I would do that just a little bit more, and then I would cut it out with the Christmas Friends, and there are dies. So this die here will cut out our owl. So I have already done that. Let me bring that in. So here you can see where I've done a little bit more of the shadowing, gone a little bit darker down here on his tail feathers, and just gone in and added those colors. Now what we want to do next is we want to take our water painters, and I'm using the small one. It's a set of 3. There's a flat, there's a large brush tip, and then a small one. And I'm just going to take some of the water here, and I'm actually just going to use my hand, and I'm going to get it going here and just take out a dot. And then I don't want it to be too wet. I'm going to go in and do my color first. I'm going to do the red. And you can see how that just turns to paint as soon as you add water. And it's great that that is just a wonderful way that you can make this smooth out. Now you don't have to add the water. You could just have left it with the watercolor pencil crayons, and that would have been fine. So see how you still get dark and light? So now I'm going to do around the side here. Now you could use the large brush here if you wanted, and it will just allow you to go a little quicker. I like to use the small one because it allows me to get into some of these little crevices just a little bit better. So I'm going dark around the outside, and then I'm going to add more water or pick up more water. Here, get a little bit more, and I'm going to go into the inside. And it will just be a little bit lighter. You'll get some of that color going everywhere. Some will be darker than others. You can always get a little bit more water if you want. And I use my hand because it's so handy, but you can have a paper towel right beside you, and that will work just as well. Or you could have your silicone craft mat. That would be great too. So I don't want to have a lot of color here. I just want to have very light color here. And we do want to leave his eyes white. And I think I'm just going to leave the beak as is. And I think I forgot his foot here. So that's all there is to actually creating that little bit of color. And I used watercolor paper. I stamped with my Memento stamp pad. And now we're just going to put that onto our tag. So I have dimensionals on the back already, and I think I'm going to put this little guy, well, let's make it exactly the same. So he's going to go on that side right there, stuck down. Now you do want to have your Wink of Stella with you, and we're just going to put Wink of Stella right where there's, we'll add a subtle little shimmer. Right where there is fuzz, I guess, from the Santa hat. It's just going to be very subtle. Now let's put a ribbon in the back here and through. And I have a Joe tips on how to make this in case you forget how to add this. So we're just going to add a mini glue dot here. And we're going to fold that over. And then we're going to take some of our Baker's Twine. And this is great Baker's Twine. So this is one of the colors in the natural tones. And so there's a blue and there's a green as well. So you'll never run out of those. And then we have the bordered ribbon. And this is in Basic Beige, which is the same color as our tag. And then because you don't have to worry about holding that bottom ribbon closed, we're just going to tie a knot here. It's trying to get away from me. And then we're just going to tie a bow. And you'll find that this is a super easy way to make a cute little embellishment, a ribbon embellishment. So you don't have to really tie a bow with ribbon, which I know is something that strikes fear into the hearts of most. Okay, so we've got our bow. We're also going to take some of the earth tone shimmer gems, and we're just going to take one, and I think on this one we're going to take the basic beige, and we're just going to place it over here. We can do more, but I like sort of the subtlety of just one. Now I promised I was going to show you the other ones, so here is the next one. So this is our polar bear, and our polar bear is all shimmered. Hopefully you can see that. And I did just do a loop ribbon on that one. And he's colored, and I created that pretty peacock color because that's not one of the colored pencils that we have. Then we have our moose. So same ribbon here, but he's done in pretty peacock. When you have a dark color, you want to put white on the back so that you're able to write on your tag. And then I want to show you a couple little ones. So this little mouse has that really detailed little die. So there's 2 levels here. And then a very simple one here, the Happy Holidays, and this is just one stamp here. I've cut it here, I stamped it twice, and just our tree on it. So you can see that there's all kinds of great ways that you can make tags for Christmas, and they're little works of art. So thanks very much for joining me. Please hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss another video, and head on over to my site at designwithjo.ca and get yourself signed up for my email. I share lots of tips and tricks and exclusive things that I don't share anywhere else. Thanks, have a great day. Bye-bye.